The Unite Warriors Technobots in under 60 minutes, let's go. Okay, very much a change of pace. I haven't done much on this channel in the way of long form reviews about Generation stuff, and when I decided to bring back the under 60 seconds reviews, I also was thinking about bringing back the week-long event videos where I cover each component of a combiner over the course of a week, and then we talk about the combiner. Except this one I decided to do a full-on review of as well, and that's what this is. It's a review of the Technobots, Computron, all that good shit. Let's get straight into it with Unite Warrior Scattershot in over 60 seconds, let's go. That's right, this thing is peak. This is the ultimate reuse of the Silverbolt mold in the essence of it's Silverbolt but with the new Nosecone and some different wings, and that's pretty much about the gist of it. Talking about my vehicle mode, he kind of perfectly captures that late 80s robo-computer aesthetic where it's just, if I told you this was based on a design from the late 1980s, I think you wouldn't be surprised too much. He has landing gear, he's got some good paint applications, he has guns that don't have a dedicated space to store, which can get annoying, especially when you want to just have him sat displayed on a surface because he's just gonna wobble to all but there we go. Fairly straightforward. Nice paint applications. Doesn't look the most aerodynamic thing in the world, but I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to talk about my opinion of this thing. Wait a minute. The Combiner Wars Silverbolt mold has been reused and remastered and retooled so many times, it's done to death. There isn't really much to add about it. We'll just get Scattershot into his robot mode. Everything... This is going to sound weird, but it's the best way I can put it. It literally just looks like the jet turned into a robot with two legs. The colour scheme remains the same. The head detailing is nice. The paint applications are very nice on this guy. The kibble storage is the exact same as it's always been with this figure. I know I've never reviewed this figure before, but there's not much to say about the old Silverbolt mold. Everything unsavory goes on the back and doesn't really get in the way, but at the same time it does. The articulation is good for the most part. Granted, there is a couple of things that kind of limit the figure, such as the wrist articulation or lack thereof due to the transformation joint, the fact there's no sort of waist articulation. Now, because this is a Unite Warriors release, he actually comes with two new handheld blasters, which are pretty good. I actually quite like them as handheld blasters. And in a nice bit of John Takara having foresight for Joe Hasbro's later f***ups, these actually have 5mm ports on the end, so you can easily attach blast effects, provided it has that 5mm stock. Unfortunately, they also have a combine mode, which is plugging one into the other and holding it as such. It's Transformers being goofy. There's nothing else to really add, is there? At least when he's dual wielding, he looks pretty good. You get him into torso mode. This was always one of the most solid molds for the torso. The transformation to get to it is fairly straightforward. There's not really nothing too bad to say about old Scattershot. Perhaps we ought to move on to talking about the Limbots. Let's start with that one. Unite Warriors Lightspeed in over 60 seconds, let's go. Let's talk the positives. The car's really nice. There's something about these reds, the shape, the windscreen. All of it just looks pretty good. The weapon storage, yeah, not so much, that's not the one. But the rest of the car is really solid. I like the sounds of these big chunky wheels. I like the way it looks. That's about it for the car. Unfortunately, this is the part where we then have to talk about the shortcomings of this mold. Yeah, we're pretty much downhill from here because the robot mode is not very good. While it retains the same sort of idea of the colors and all that sort of good shit are really nice. It's the Combiner Wars Wheeljack slash Breakdown slash Sunstreaker slash whoever the f you want to call him mold. And it comes with that same problem where the legs are a bit odd and it's got that weird swiveling double jointed hip pelvis gut crotch thing. The arms are really spindly and weird and just not the most desirable. Like, of this set, I feel like he's probably the weakest one just by virtue of using this mold. But the good thing is, the tolerances on the mold feel pretty good. You know, it's not one where the quality is particularly bad. It's more just the design was not particularly good to begin with. As part of this set, he also comes with two rifles, which are handheld. They're not as exciting as Scattershots, but they do the job fairly nicely. But totally disregarding this guy because all he's got going for him is a nice lick of paint. Let's change pace and move straight onto the other leg. Unite Warriors Nosecone in over 60 seconds. Let's go. You can't move to peak that quickly. You're just going to give me whiplash. But I'm here with a broken neck now anyway, so let's just get straight into talking about Nosecone. Easily the coolest retool of one of the best Combiner Wars figures, and I'm not even sorry about it. This is a very sort of stripped back retool. It takes away all the wheels of this mold, replace them with treads, takes away the shell and just replace it with a strut in the middle for whatever reason, and of course the Nosecone accessory, which I just I love this thing. It's got a spring-loaded tip at the end, and this is the only spring-loaded thing I want to know about. I love dumb shit like this. But yeah, Nosecone's just toyetic and fun and dumb, and definitely a lot better than his Hasbro counterpart. Not to throw too much shade. But anyway, let's get to his... Oh, okay, we're already here. Well, that's fine, I guess. So, Nosecone is just, like I say, he's a retool of the Rook and Roller mold. He's just better for it. This mold was just great at the time, and it still holds up fairly well. I like the new head sculpt, I like the colours, I like the changes from wheels to treads, I like all of it. While that strut looks a bit unsightly because of the fact it only folds up in one or two places, you know, it's a bit much. But I like it for what it is. It's nothing crazy, but it's also, you know, it's nothing terrible. Of course, this being the Rook mold, he's got 5mm ports above his fists, so kind of like Wolverine. But the good thing is that means you could have any sort of silly combination of display options with his various accessories, because for whatever reason, this guy not only comes with the drill accessory, he also does not come with only a rifle, because he, you know, naturally you'd assume he'd have some sort of gun. He also goes with two guns of some sort that plug into these 5mm ports. So yeah, he's constantly got basically arm-mounted guns. And I wish there was much more I could say about Nosecone other than just he's delightful and fun and an early pre-siege example of ankle tilts in a toy. I love him. He's fun. He's goofy. He's here to stay. I like this guy. I like this mold. Let's talk about a mold that I'm not sure how to feel about. Unite Warrior Strafe in over 60 seconds, let's go. I still do not know how to feel about this one. Since I got this set originally in 20, whenever the f it was, I've also gotten the Blast Off version, and I still to this day, I'm like, I don't know. Strafe turns into some sort of thing that flies. It doesn't look the most practical, nor the most efficient. Kinda just gives me like C-list Star Wars vibes. Like, this could never be one of the iconic vehicles. This is one that LEGO will produce a set of and someone will say, I recognise it from the Clone Wars, and that'll be about as far as it goes. This isn't going to be winning any hearts and minds over. Now we've got him in his robot mode. He looks nice. I'm just beginning to realise it looks like mine is partially yellowed, which is surprising, but I don't think this guy's ever actually been in the sun, you know, because he's mine and I'm a fucking loser who doesn't go outside. The abundance of 5mm ports in this guy's robot mode are crazy. The paint applications are nice. The red and white and orange and brown of this team is just a really nice colour scheme, and it's a colour scheme we don't tend to see all that often, and I really appreciate it for what it is. Strafe comes with 3 weapons. He comes with 2 mirrored blasters, which are intended to go on the front of the ship, but they can also be removed from there, put on the end of his hands to form like a bayonet kind of thing, but with a gun barrel, or you could put them underslung, or you could put them in his hands, or you could do none of the above and just do your own thing and live your life. You know, you've earned it. Also, he comes with a pistol. I guess that's about it for Strafe. I guess if we're going counterclockwise, because I'm a counterculture cool dude, said no one ever, then I guess the only option left to cover is Unite Warriors Afterburner in over 60 seconds, let's go. Yeah, this is definitely kind of like the black sheep of the group. Like, I know I said Lightspeed is a shitty mold, but like, that's a shitty mold. This one's just really awkward and kind of gangly, and I think part of that is just because he's a motorbike. It's like they tried to do what they did with the old Chromia figure that was a retool of Prom RC, and they tried to do that to the Combiner Wars Groove figure, and he just, I don't know, I don't think it lands. At best, he's got really good weapon storage, and I really like it for what it is. At worst, it's just a bit too big and a bit too awkward. So I'll admit up front, I don't really understand how the back kibble's supposed to go, if you're supposed to turn stuff in a certain direction and that kind of fixes the entire issue, or I don't know what the score is with it, I'll be brutally honest. The the rest of him's alright. I think, apart from that awkward back kibble, everything else is well proportioned. I like the head sculpt. I like the paint applications. He kind of gives off more of an aerial bot vibe than a Technobot vibe, but obviously he's a motorbike, so he's not going to be an aerial bot. That would be silly. His weapons in general kind of, perplex me because I don't know how to feel about them. Because literally on one hand, they look good. On the other, they look shit. And that's purely because they made them hollow on one side with a peg. One thing about these old Unite Warriors and Combiner Wars figures, I kind of wish they had wrists. There's a few of them that come with some weapons and come with some options where I'm like, if you had a wrist, you'd be significantly better. I don't make the rules. I don't really care. As it stands, his kibble is very awkward on his back. His weapons are not the best. You take those two away and he's fairly solid, all things considered. I don't actually hate him that much. Like I say, he's more awkward than anything. Lightspeed is just shit. There's no excuse in that. Before we get into the robot mode, I know that this guy can come in Scramble City settings, and I really can't be bothered going through them. So here's just a quick look at the limbs reversed, and for shits and giggles, here's a look at him as a dog on all fours. Anyway, Unite Warriors Computron in over 60 seconds, let's go. So this was my first Unite Warriors figure, I believe. I could be wrong. I think it was. And honestly, I think he's probably one of the strongest combiners of the lineup. Talking about the things that I don't like, one of the things I take issue with is the amount of accessories he comes with. It comes to a fault. You run out of places to store them on his body. I know you can always just take accessories and chuck them off to one side, but I like, if a figure comes with something, I like it having somewhere to store said accessory. Also, because it's a box set, for some reason, he didn't come with the dedicated hands and feet like the Hasbro which is very disappointing. That's all the things I don't like. Talking about the things I do like, well, he's just nice. He's nice and premium and fancy and colourful and techno-retro looking, and he's just fun. Yeah, his posability isn't the best. Combiner Wars figures were marred by janky proportions and not the best QC and repeated strain on said joints and all this sort of weird shit. But for what he is, he's fairly solid. I like the fact that he's got the big high-rise shoulders. I like the fact of he comes with these other accessories. You know, some of these weapons work really well with him as a combined figure. Some of them don't. Unfortunately, with Combiner Wars combined modes, there's not really much to say. They just go from scales of medium to shit. And this one is nested comfortably somewhere in medium. For paint applications and detail, and he's elevated higher. As a figure, he plods along. He's sound as anything. He's nothing spectacular. And he's probably not going to save your failing relationship. Sorry, bro. I think, in summary, that's about it. This set was lovely to have, and it's wonderful. And it looks a lot better than the Hasbro alternative. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure there's going to be people in the audience saying the Hasbro one was actually alright. I don't doubt it, but I deliberately passed on that one in favour of this one, and I don't regret that decision in any way. I aired my grievances with it, and there's only so much you can say about these Combiner Wars figures and their combined modes, because for the most part, they're fairly cut and dry. Like, I don't intend to be doing many of these, and if I do, it'll probably be in a similar sort of format where let's just get all the members together, dump them in a video and talk about them. I think that's about it. Yeah, have a good one. And I'll see you for SS Wave 7. Goodbye.